So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the MSAD 60 September 4th Board of Directors meeting. If we could start the meeting, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we will have the public input statement from our Vice Chair.
Thank you. The first public input session is a 21-minute session with each person having no longer than 3 minutes in which to make a statement. But a second public input session may be held at the end of the meeting if allowed by the board chair. Each speaker will give his or her name, address, and reason for speaking. Public input is designated for district residents, but the board chair may grant non-residents the opportunity to address the board. Statements concerning subject matter that falls under the law regarding executive sessions, for example, matters involving personnel, cannot be made during public input. We as a community pledge to treat each other as we wish to be treated. We pledge to seek understanding where there may be disagreement. Regardless of outcomes or opinions, we pledge to move forward with respect. This is time for comments and or questions for the board, but please be aware that questions may not be able to be answered at this meeting.
Thank you. Now, do we have any input from our attendees here? No, doesn't look so right now. Okay, thank you. And just a reminder to the board members, last week when we talked about having your desire to be acknowledged to speak, we're going to turn our microphone lights on. Okay, so now the minutes of August 21st. I saw that there were a few comments in email. Besides those comments, are there any other updates?
I did adjust all of the requests.
Anything else?
Motion to pass with changes.
We have a motion to pass. We have a second. Second. A motion to pass and it's been seconded. All those in favor of approving the August 21st meeting notes? All those opposed?
I'll abstain.
You're abstaining. Okay.
I am too. I haven't reread them. Sorry.
So now we're going to be talking about school district opening.
Okay, just a quick update. We've had a lot of open houses prior to the start of school. We have 2 others next week coming up for the 3 elementary A3 schools. The pre-K already had their open houses. And then on Monday evening, we have the grades 9 to 12. By all accounts, this has been a very successful start to the school year. The reconfiguration went exceptionally well at the grade levels. As you walk through the building, students are happy, staff are really motivated and happy to be back. I just need to really pay homage to those who really helped us throughout this process, the technology department, the transportation department, the custodial department. We've had people that haven't had any kind of break since before school ended and are just kind of going straight through. Our transportation office is working double overtime. The drivers all have new routes and new students that they're getting used to, and they did a lot of work this summer and are continuing to work through routes and runs so that we can continue to shave off time and be as efficient as possible to get students home. We've been to all of the open houses thus far, and overwhelmingly parents are pleased, students are pleased and proud, showing parents around the buildings. The lockers were a hit last night at Knowlton, which we knew would be a thing. But it's just really, it's nice to see the turnouts have been very high, even though we did some orientation and some work prior to the end of the school year. Really high participation from families. So we're very, very grateful for that. I was going to talk about this in the superintendent's report, but our pre-K started on Tuesday. Prior to that, they had screening days, and that they had their open house prior to coming in. And so things have been going really well with the pre-K. We have had some students that have rested a little longer than the allotted time, which is absolutely fine in pre-K. That's not a problem. We had somebody from the state come in today to visit all 3 of the programs in all 3 of the towns. And they were just absolutely blown away with how things are running this very quickly on the 3rd day of pre-K. So, and we'll see a couple pictures, but later on when we go through some of the goals. And students were working on in sand trays, students were listening to books. They were, really engaged with their routines and their schedule. And the observations were just like, wow, this is only the 3rd day. So we're off to a really great start with our youngest of students. Up here, it's been great having the 7th grade here. It's just been very pleasant to see them here and just joining in with everything. They're acclimating to the building. When I was in the other day, they were trying to figure out, some of them were where the gym was. There were a lot of people to help them figure out that and navigate that. So it just by all accounts feels really, really positive all across the district. I will say, transportation has been one of our issues. We knew that this would come up as it does every year, but it's a bigger piece right now because of the reconfiguration. And there were some glitches between Busright, the software for Busright, and the software that we use, or Infinite Campus, the data collection that we use. So sensitive that if there was a comma instead of a period, it would misinterpret an email. So things like that were very time consuming. We had a lot of parent support and cooperation on Friday when we sent that email, that notification out asking for everybody to go in and make sure Infinite Campus is updated. We had staff in the technology department working all day Friday to help those that were having some trouble so that they could get on. They could make sure their information was updated in Infinite Campus so that the upload could happen on Saturday for Busright. So all of those pieces have really, really helped us with the transportation. And again, we're meeting with the director, and we're talking to her every single day. So really, right now, it's our 4th, 5th, and 6th that we're really focusing in on. We also had some buses, are later in the day, so we're trying to get that squared away. But we're also looking at the time of drop off in the morning. Some of those have been a little later. Today, actually, we shaved off 20 minutes off that last bus coming in. So we are seeing the progress. So things are just flushing out a little bit. So that's what we want, continued improvement and continued working through that. So that's the update with that. We did have a driver who passed her test
Today.
this afternoon.
Yep.
And so that will help shave off some of the times of our longest runs in the afternoon. And then we have a few others that are very close to taking their test. And that is what, our director has said, like we've got some training done. We're just waiting for those tests. And so, those are coming up. So again, that will help every single time that happens. Obviously, it will help lighten and cut back some of the load and some of the time for the other buses. So that's good. I'm going to share enrollment with you right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. And how we're sharing it is in that 5-year, in that document from 19 and 20 to 25, 26. And similar to last year, when you look at it, 25, 26 is on the left. So it reads that way. We do have extra copies for the audience. Marissa, if you want to just hand those out. Thank you.
I have a question about the bus drivers.
Yes.
Cheers to those people for going through that system to be a bus driver.
Yes.
And enduring that. Do we have any kind of a sign-on bonus? We can't really.
Right now, we do not. We've done finder's fees. So our drivers, if they can bring somebody in, we've done that. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I would like to say too, that we're not alone in the state. We're one of many, many districts that have this kind of a challenge with finding skilled, qualified drivers. And, it's takes a village. So to everybody watching the videotape and to the people here, I would say, let's make this a community project. Let's all own it. And if we know someone, let's get them in and
Sign them up.
get them signed up. I also Googled and found out that our district is 107 square miles. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're down drivers is really impactful. So it is an issue. And kudos to the administration and the Department of Transportation because they've done an incredible job.
And our director of transportation is driving. So in addition to trying to coordinate all these runs, he's driving 4 hours a day. So her day is like crunched.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very.
Just
Just a quick question. I'm assuming the buses are pretty loaded. There was a parent that suggested that if we had a broken down bus or whatever the reason the bus wasn't running the other day, that the kids get on a different bus and be dropped off. And I want to let parents know those buses are loaded.
Yes.
That can't happen.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
And the other thing that, bring it up since I still have my light on, it appeared, and I don't know, but it sounded like it might have been a Lebanon bus or multiple schools, but ending up in Lebanon. Is there any chance that if it's a Lebanon bus, maybe a Berwick bus could be swapped out for the Lebanon bus so these parents aren't hustling to try to get here in time to pick up their kids? I just thought to maybe mention it to the transportation director. I don't know whether it would work or not, probably not, but I did hear a lot of people, parents, about, and I think that was even brought up last spring. We had long concern about is when the buses break down, how are we going to get our kids?
Exactly.
So, thank you.
And yes, we did have a driver that was out this week and just yesterday, and that afternoon portion of the run needed to be canceled. So that is an added challenge. And, when somebody's out and we're down 6, now 5 drivers, that does cause issues. And we do want to get our transportation director back in the directorship just because there's a lot to do with supervising the drivers and different pieces like that we really need to make sure she's doing those pieces. So to your point, anybody that knows anybody that can help us. Yes, that's great. So just kind of going back to enrollment, as you can see currently, and I'll preface this was of today, as of today. Our numbers to the state go to the state on October 1st. That's the big date that we have, and that impacts the subsidy. So these are our numbers as we pulled this morning. As you can see, pre-K is down a little bit from where we estimated. We have exhausted the wait lists. So what we're going to be doing over the next couple of days is just sending out another email or a blast out to just see if there's anybody else who would like to participate in pre-K. It's not Berwick, it's Lebanon right now that's down a few students. And so we will hope to get those students. We do have some Berwick students who are attending in Lebanon. They are getting transportation to Lebanon. And so we have that option as well. So we will open that up to all 3 towns because we want to make sure that we are running as we said we would be doing. So that's that. So pre-K is at 90. For kindergarten, we're at 173. And if you notice, if you look at 24, 25, you see that as a dip. And then grade 1 is up at 214. Grade 2 is up at 199 from last year. Grade 3 is 188. From the year before that, it was 244. Grade 4 is 245. So that's that bubble from 3rd grade that went down to 4th grade, over to 4th grade. Grade 5 is 185 students. So that puts us at 1,294 students. And then you can see the totals for 6, 7, and 8. 194 for 6, 13 for 7, 222 for grade 8, which puts us at 629 for that. And then you see the numbers for the high school. And so the total is 2,795. And we're down 37 students. And why we have the parenthesis there is that Hussey School kindergarten numbers are down significantly. We noticed that, and I think we discussed that a little bit in the spring with kindergarten registration, that we were not seeing the numbers coming in from Berwick like we thought we would. We downsized by a teacher and put that that teacher took over one of the pre-K classrooms. And so we just, that led through. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes in the summer you get like 50 registrations, but it did not happen for Huzzy this year that way. So that's primarily where our biggest. So, Al, question?
Hi. I know that it was brought up in this past year that there have been a few more kids switching to homeschooling, but I know that it's not a high number. I mean, you just said it's like only 30 kids total. I can't imagine that a lot of those are being pulled to homeschool. It sounds like it's just a population thing. But when someone transfers to homeschool, I know we can still get like a partial subsidy if they remain engaged in some of our extracurriculars. So is there like a way that those parents can get that information easily that you could talk about?
We certainly can reach out to those families. We do have a number of families that are participating in either, like some of the specials or attending like a world language class or different things like that. So we do have families that are taking advantage of that, mostly at the upper grades, the lower grades, not so much, but it does happen as well. We have had about 4 families that have moved into the district that were homeschooling in their other school that are continuing to homeschool now. So it's not anything other than that they were doing that prior to moving, and they're sticking with that. So,
Okay. I know
yeah.
a lot of people like reach out to us about that too. So if there's any way you could share that with the school board, like a quick link we could direct them to, I guess we would just direct them to you, Audra, but we could just get a little more info on like what they have access to as far as specials. That would be really helpful.
I can write that up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really, as a homeschool parent, homeschool parents know that they have access to the school.
I get a lot of people in just like wondering what they're able to do and what they're not. So I think we still have some people that are just out of the loop with it, and I just want to be able to have an answer on deck and not a wrong answer, because I don't want to give a wrong answer,
I would say that's accurate, Ally. I think there's a range of folks that are wanting to get involved with the homeschooling piece, but don't necessarily know all the continuum. Basically, there's a continuum of homeschooling, and we can definitely reach out to let them know they can utilize some services here. No problem. Yeah.
So really, sorry.
Thank you. It's not just homeschool, right? I mean, there are a number of families who are choosing parochial schools or private schools or other schooling options, not just homeschool, that families are choosing to educate their students in other ways. Just looking at overall the chart, right? I was just looking at significant easy numbers, right? 2,995 in 21-22 as a total number at the bottom. And then to now is 2,795. That's a reduction of 200 students over that 4-year time period. And now it's just looking at the general trend. If you look at the high school numbers just looking at it's like 240 around, right? Average classes, if you look at grades 10, 11, and 12. And then if you look at, kindergarten numbers over the last 4 years, we're in like the 190s, so it looks like that trend is going to continue if we I mean, that's just looking at those numbers, and I just wanted to publicly state that that's what we're looking at on this chart. We're seeing that. So while it is true that there are several families who are choosing to educate their children differently than MSAB 60, it's also true that we have a significant reduction in the number of students attend a school starting in kindergarten versus those graduating in high school.
Yes, yeah, correct.
And that's been predicted.
Yes.
Predicted in this area for a while. I just want to say that's nothing. We're not the only ones experiencing that either.
Right. And it does have obviously impact our ED 279, and we'll be talking about that later, I think. So, but just wanted to put it out there that we're down that 37 students, 27 of which are the kindergarten from Huzzy School.
Date for the first time. Perfect. Thank you. So our next item to discuss are our board goals.
So here's a hard copy, and I'm also going to be projecting the hard copy up. Can you share that with Ally?
I think I can.
Ally, we're going to share it with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm sharing this with the audience as well.
Yes, of course. Okay.
It is. One of here. It's
You should have gotten an email, Ally.
Yep, I have it. I have it. I'm all set. Thank you.
Great.
I'm glad you are because I'm not quite. See, the document went out before I was here.
no people see the orange.
It may have turned off. Coming on. I think is it coming on?
Blue lights on it.
So the blue lights.
That's how it ends.
Right. Okay.
Like before. And maybe one of those are good. Okay. We need to recharge the phone.
Right.
Every so.
Yes. Flashing. Or the sound going. Yeah.
There it comes.
Yep. Okay, so this document is just what you have. I'm projecting it just so that we can have it on screen as well. I know our audience knows particularly, but I think I did great. So these were our goals. This is what has been on the board tab of our district webpage. And what I have done and what we have worked out is that we've addressed, we try to figure out the best, most concise way to address the progress to each of the goals. So what we did is when we went to the goal in blue font, we addressed the progress or some of the data or the statistics on the other data particular areas. So here again, that's a reminder, these goals are based on things strategic plan, no, that's 2030. And it's just an order of exactly how the document appears on the district webpage. So I'm going to just read the goal partially because we're recording, so audience members can hear that. And then we can talk through each of those the progress of the goal. So the first goal is under pathways to success, academic achievement. And the goal is to provide a comprehensive, clearly articulated system of pathways and supports that enable all learners to acquire the knowledge needed to reach their personal goals and have a successful future. And then, so it is present through June of 2026. And the step or the evidence is by June of 2026, 75% of students will meet or exceed grade level proficiency on the benchmark assessment system and Northeast evaluation system, that's NWEA. The stretch goal is for 80% of students to meet or exceed this target. So the data in these first two charts is drawn directly from the presentation that Dr. Schweiger did in August. So we just took that information and put that in that chart. As a reminder, she presented grade level information for both math and reading, which showed variation across grades, with some performing higher than others. These two charts summarize that information by providing the average percentage in each area for the grade levels participating in the year assessments. So just as a reminder, those grade levels that are participating is their 3rd grade to 8th grade and then 10th grade. The second chart below those two, below the math and the reading, is the benchmark assessment chart. And that shows the average percentage of students meeting grade level proficiency on the benchmark assessment system. The chart's divided into 2 sections. The first section is the Heinemann section. The second section is the nodal section. And I just want to talk a little bit about the differences with that. In our district, kindergarten and 1st grade benchmarks are set above the Heinemann benchmark levels. Over time, our data shows that students who finish the year at higher independent reading levels demonstrate stronger foundational skills and have a significantly lower likelihood of requiring remediation or intervention beyond kindergarten. Our expectations are aligned with the multi-tiered system of supports framework, which allows us to provide targeted support, slowly reducing the need for additional intervention later. While the Heinemann levels serve as a helpful reading guide, they want these other aids to help us with that framework. So I'm going to just give you an example. For example, in kindergarten, the Heinemann level is D by the end of kindergarten. You can have level D. The nodal end of the year for students for kindergarten is an F. So it's a few levels above where the Heinemann level lands. 1st grade, Heinemann recommends the J, and we have seen that the K students that are at K are pretty solid in their skills. And that has really translated. So we just wanted to make sure that you saw what those percentages look like. So for the Heinemann benchmark assessment, 81.25% of students met that expectation. And again, this is the average K to 3. And for nodal benchmark assessment with those cutoffs that we just talked through, 67.25% of students may have exceeded the benchmark goal. The next item that we had was by June of 2026, MSAD 60 will increase the percent of students meeting or exceeding the state expectations on the mandated main through year assessment in math and literacy by 10%. And we have that data. There's nothing written there in blue because the data is above. And really, this is our measure for next spring when those scores come out in the spring. That's what we'll be looking at. The third item was by June 2026, students who have been enrolled in the district since kindergarten will achieve a graduation rate at or above the top 25% in the state. So we wanted to provide some baseline information, and just for your information, at the end of the year, when we had the graduation completed, we do have to submit graduation rates, and we have this big formula that we have to do. Our technology department really works on that. And then we certify that. I certified that yesterday. So we're using really up-to-date data. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear, that these are accurate numbers. So our baseline data for this year is that we had 119 students out of the 247 students that have attended MSAD 60 since kindergarten. Of those 119 students, 110 of them, or 92.44%, graduated. The average graduation in the state of Maine as of 2024, they haven't calculated 25 yet, basically because we just certified all that information, is 87.7%. So a rate of 92.44%, which says our district in the 85th percentile. Overall, the graduation for the class of 2025 for our district is 92.31%. So that is tremendous. And it is very interesting to extrapolate those students who are here. As you can see, we've had a lot of fluctuation. I mean, we had 119 students out of 247 students that have been with us since kindergarten. So we've had a lot of transitions. So that was very interesting to see as part of this. We're going to go into high quality resources, and I'll just probably with the family advisor. Maintain a 93% retention rate of highly skilled teachers and an 87% retention rate of educational technicians for the 25-26 school year, through continued implementation of a comprehensive recruitment and a retention program to include. And then there are some items in font, but I'm going to start with the font because I'm addressing the retention of staff. So, and again, this was done, and as we hired, we hired even up till yesterday with some educational technicians. So I'll just go through this. There are 269.9 district-wide teaching positions for the 25-26 school year, including 23 new hires. This represents a 91% retention rate of teachers. However, 6 of those were new positions created specifically for the implementation of pre-K. And since those positions were newly established and not the result of a teacher turnover, the retention rate, excluding the new pre-K teachers, is at 94%. So we did the similar crunching of data for the next one. There are 100.6 district-wide classroom and special educational technician positions in the 25-26 school year, including 16 new hires. This represents an 84% retention rate. However, 9 new positions were created specifically to support pre-K. Since these positions were newly established and not the result of turnover, the retention rate, excluding the new pre-K educational technicians, is 93%. So we're doing very well in those. We saw we've seen a lot of transition over, 20 to 23. And some of it was a direct result of COVID, we had people that were, going to think about retiring, but just made decisions to do so a little early. There was a lot of relocation. Our hope is that this really shows us that we're going to be somewhat stable with that. The next one was targeted recruitment efforts at top education programs across New England through outreach to local universities, job postings, and job fairs. So this is the list of how we utilize and what we do to advertise the positions. So we utilize Indeed, serving schools, School Spring. We use UNH and USM, some of their career centers. And we participated in one job fair at the University of Maine. The next one is continue to provide competitive salary and benefits package as a result of the 24-25 labor negotiations process. And many of these are on the committees. So we had successful negotiation sessions. I did a ratification of a 2-year contract for the teachers and a 3-year contract for supports. The next one, expand mentorship programs for new hires through analysis and ongoing feedback. So as a result of the feedback and analysis, we are increasing mentor-mentee meetings and classroom visits. We're holding ongoing trainings with the mentors to support them as they support their mentees. We're providing ample collaboration time at grade level and department levels to support the new teaching staff. The next one is identify specific professional development opportunities for newly hired teachers and support staff. We have opportunities to participate in the skillful teacher class in the 2nd year of employment of MS 60. That's been something that's been offered for several years, but we really encourage our 2nd year teachers to attend that. And we're really actively going to make sure that we are offering that class because it is such a valuable class, not too long more classroom management, less employment, how to create, the big picture of units and how to break those down, how to hit the learning targets. Visit, and observe a minimum of 2 colleagues during the course of the year and discuss those visits with the assigned mentor. And then attend monthly and targeted training for new teachers with school administration or administrator or a designee. The next one is mostly about facilities. So by June 26, create and begin to implement a comprehensive facilities plan that was studied by Harriman and Associates. The plan will include school facilities in the 3 towns and pinpoint 5 key areas of improvement to enhance the overall quality and safety of our educational environment. And that's going to be beginning shortly as we are working through our business briefs. And that's we start talking about heading into the budget, talking about facilities. And do you want to have a committee look at facilities? Do you want the whole board to work through that? Because it's a really important topic. We understand that. And begin to address the key areas for improvement in the different locations. Again, that's part of what we're going to be working through as we lead up until the budget. So that's why it's balance the budget cycle. Identify exact infrastructure to alleviate the building concerns in the age of Lebanon Elementary School. So the district reconfiguration for the 25-26 school year will alleviate some initial concerns of Lebanon Elementary School and allow time for the collective directors, looks like it was cut off, to work through, those options and what you feel is the best next steps for like elementary. We should fix that. The next one, identify exact infrastructure needed for the addition of pre-K. And MSA applied for and was awarded a grant from the state of Maine for 2 targeted pre-K classrooms in each of the 3 towns for the 25-26 school year. The ongoing review of pre-K classroom space as part of a larger comprehensive facilities plan will continue. We did add on the left-hand side photos taken this morning in some of our pre-K classrooms, so you can see some work. We did try to block off the faces of students because we just wanted to make doubly sure that we were not reaching any confidentiality. The students did not want the video to get, public. So they're working, as you can see, on different activities.
Look at the picture. Look at the picture of the kids on the sofa. That is the tiniest sofa you'll ever see. So they look like normal size, but they're tiny. And so cute. Oh, that's awesome. Sorry. Just too much fun.
As you can see, like in my last picture on the carpet, I don't think what the picture they're working on class. So it's all quite this card. Next area was the annual curriculum review cycles, resulting in recommendations for programming improvement and resource allocations. So our special education department completed an audit learning 24.5 school year. The next one, we said that you would be going in 2024, the multi-year process of accreditation from the high school, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And this is what has occurred up until this point, which took quite a bit of time. The self-reflection stage occurred, so that's the analysis to evaluate alignment with NEASC standards. This included information gathering from staff, students, parents, looking at student work, program information, and other relevant documents, and it spanned the course 4 to 6 months. This work is continuing this year as well. And then drive ongoing content area review for the curriculum cycle. So the 24-25 cycle was last primarily for 6 to 8. We targeted 6 to 8. Obviously, when you look at the scores, when Dr. Schweiger was in and we talked through some of that, we talked about, we had some math teachers at the elementary level. They're going up to help support the new math program at 6 to 8 level. And we are working in iReady. We've already had some training for staff over the summer and right before school began. So that's that. And we will continue with the professional development cycle. We'll continue with the math counseling and helping support teachers as they navigate the new program for this first year. Looking at school safety, ensure 100% of the staff have received initial and ongoing training and practice on the crisis go notification system, team practice drills, and face-to-face training. These were on how to cut off date for that in December of 2024. We made sure that was all completed before break in 2024. We obviously need to do that again because we have to be stacked, but that's on our radar absolutely. The intermediate school practice crisis go today. They have a 2-year loss today, and they went through one of them with crisis go. So we know that is starting to be implemented for fall. And then the next one was conduct a full security assessment at first entry facilitated by our resource officers. And what has been completed has been MHA, Noble Elementary, North Berwick Elementary, and then Noble Middle and High School. Swim. Pretty backwards there. So we have not yet completed the Hussey School, the Noble Intermediate School, Hampton School, and Knowlton School. But what happened for Hussey School and Noble Intermediate School is they had an opportunity to participate in the active shooter hostile event response drill, which was quite a very comprehensive drill. And that's quite a lot of time. So while the intermediate school had that completed in the fall, and we had information, closer to the spring on that, and Hussey School had that completed in the spring. So we haven't had a lot of information. We're starting to get that in right now. We do know that at Hussey School, we have a lot of staff, staff participation. I think that it's always helpful. So our goal is to make sure that the other schools that have not yet had the security assessment completed in the fully implement. The next one is fully implement in all elementary schools comprehensive CBIS framework, including the switch bracket system. We will open this nature accounting to and then we did say that we would look at a comprehensive pre and post survey of the wellness at Noble Middle School. And I say Noble Middle School because that was what was
Then,
going for last year for Noble Middle School. So throughout their survey, my students saw in here, 47% of the 6th graders felt better after wellness, and 40% of our 7th graders felt better after wellness. And then the goal this year for the intermediate school is to continue to survey students with regards to that wellness block. The next one is to examine the main integrated youth health survey responses with your county colleagues, leverage group input to continue to build supportive resources at Noble High School that address student challenges and support needs. So the school district representation occurred at meeting 23. So we do it every other year. We just took our students were just given that survey. This year we should be expecting to have some of those meetings come this fall, April, or December. And we can certainly talk through some of that. What we found last time is that we need to build some resources to focus on drug and alcohol cessation and then specialists in that field and other supports for student wellness. So those are some of the things that we've had in the budget the last couple of years. Anticipating that would probably be something that comes back out once we go through the circle of our students' rates of recommit. This was a little hard to do. So we hosted, one of them was to host 3 community-based drop-in sessions with the purpose of providing ongoing school district information to those communities like our superintendent participation experts. So we don't really get 2 of those accomplished. The struggle, as we mentioned before, is here to meet in Lebanon. We were able to meet in North Berwick at the library, in Berwick in the library, at the public libraries. And we're going to continue some of those sections as well. Friday in Berwick, Friday mornings, once a month, every other Friday in Berwick, they do have a story time. So it was mentioned that may be a good time because parents have been during that time that may be a good. So we will continue to look at that, and we will just figure something out for Lebanon. We are having trouble with that, but we may as well just go somewhere and consensus start, see what happens with that. The other thing was a little challenging for us was we still want to complete this because it's really important. Inviting our fifth grade students to visit the Regional Technical Center. When we were available, it was not a good time for, say for Regional Technical Center or anything. They had availability, we had transportation challenges. So it's on our agenda, and it's this year. And, projecting you have some drivers come in. We hope to get that done sooner than later. So here, the next one was the newsletter. And so we said that we would increase the monthly newsletter by 5% from December of 2014 to 25. So we met that at 2.6%, not 5%. That said, when you look back between December and June, there were periods of time in the newsletter hit way more than 230, 2,336 streets. Some years, sometimes it was at 3,000, higher than 3,000, but we said December will June. So we just pick that number and the June number as well. I will say that the August newsletter that was went out had over 4,000 views, and then the September newsletter had over 2,000 views. And then we also said that we would distribute hard copies and QR codes in 5 accessible spots throughout the 3 towns. So right now, they're available in Berwick, Lebanon, and North Berwick libraries and the town halls. The next one, continuing to highlight recent partnerships with the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard and students. We'll do that through our district newsletters. We hold an appreciation breakfast for our partnerships. With our partnerships, we know that the shipyard has been increasingly using our space within the school district, and has actually been marketing by August. They do something.
Yeah, we said August.
Yeah,
They had a full setup out front.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yes. So, so just utilizing our space and working with us in some of that. And then we have a partnership agreement where we can have meetings with them 4 times a year, just to keep moving ahead and building, where we can find more. And the next one was gathering baseline numbers on community participation and attendance for art show, concerts, and learning fairs. This didn't really tell us a lot, except it reinforced what we knew, and that is always that the district art show, we get a lot of community members and family members in. So we stopped counting at 600 with that. Same thing with our district band and chorus concerts. We had over 800 audience members of those. And then our learning fairs in our schools reported 85 to 90% participation rates, depending on what school it was and what time of the day those occurred. So again, this just reinforced for us what we have seen. And then the last one was taking to find school district web pages, so they are up to date and easily accessible. And we are still working on this is a lot. We've talked about this for a couple of years now, and this is a massive undertaking. So, and then especially because they can be rich, so working on this goal. What if you wouldn't be?
Any initial thoughts or questions for Audra or Sue?
I just want to say thank you to, I'm sure it's Asakio who's working on those websites, because they look amazing this year. Like every school is so uniform, and where you go for each thing is so uniform for each school. So with people with multiple children in different schools, it has made life super, super easy. So thank you. That looks great.
You want to go? But you go on.
I was just a quick one. With the SRTC, do they have any kind of presentation or something that if we can't coordinate transportation, that we can get that, or get some high school students who participate in it to come in, and honestly with fifth and sixth all together now to kind of do it for all of them. If we can't get them there, can we bring something?
I think that's a good
Yeah.
idea. Yes. Yeah.
A couple. So on the mentorship programs, I'm curious, what was the feedback? I think this is a topic nationwide in almost all industries. So did they feel they needed more mentorship or would welcome it, or?
Yes. Yes. Okay. We have, the state of Maine gives us what bare minimum, what the expectations are for mentors working with new teachers. And we've always incorporated that, but we really needed to beef that up. We wanted to beef that up. The work that they're doing with their grade levels is really helpful, but being able to, like, a piece that was missing, I think, is being able to go and visit other classrooms and really learn from what they're seeing from a similar grade level teacher who has been there before, longer period of time. And some of that discussion after the fact, because you can go in and observe, but if you're not having an ability to talk about what you're seeing and why this is working and what led to this, that just makes it richer. And so those are some of the things that we've heard and trying to implement.
Yeah. And then my next one on the wellness piece, the social emotional well-being. So 47% of sixth graders, 40% of seventh graders felt better. So the 50% who, part of this, I think, is how do kids understand how to respond to this, or do they take it seriously? But so for the ones that are saying they don't, do we do anything with that? What do you do with those students? I mean, that would suggest if they are not feeling well about school. So do we address that with them?
I think some of it was directly related to, and as we heard a couple of times from Principal Archambault during that time, is that some of it was not, it was a little not wellness, it was less, there's not a lot of equipment out there.
I don't like it as
Right, exactly. There's
It
not
was more specific to the wellness block
Right.
versus actually, are you well?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
There was,
Yeah.
like, are you feeling better after wellness block? I think that's a good question. And
But, we don't have swings. There's a lot of things we don't have. So, yeah.
And I've got a comment. So the one parent I heard from that did not enroll their child in kindergarten was school safety related. Was specifically, and I know this is a national issue, it's not specific to us, but I do feel like, and I was with this group that talked about this, and it was, I think, an issue for the group. We aren't talking about that. And I think that makes it additionally scary to parents of young children who are looking at sending a kindergarten student to school who's going to have to learn how to, and now pre-K, hide under a desk and do all those things. So I guess part of my question would be, for that part, we cut out during that process some of those more specific questions to an uncomfortable topic that I think we have to open back.
As a board, as a school, as everybody.
Yeah.
in terms of looking at these goals.
Yeah, and
How do you want to address that?
like how safe are each of our schools? And I know we're generally talking about looking at those things in the Asher training. What do we do when it happens? But that's mind bending. It is for me as a grandparent. And I can't imagine what a kindergarten or pre-K parent. I do know, because my daughter is just beside herself. She stresses every day about this, and we can talk about it. I think that it's one of those things where if you don't talk about it, it almost makes it more frightening. Yeah.
Duly noted.
Yeah. Any comments?
Goodness,
I mean, make a little attention.
please don't do that again.
I won't. I missed it. Hey, on wellness, at the intermediate school, East Street Middle School, I thought that was part of the behavior intervention where they incorporated the wellness activity.
help to reduce some of the behaviors?
The wellness block was so known as recess, right? But they did not want to call it recess at that level, so they called it the wellness period of time. So it was all of our students participated.
Right, but I thought he incorporated that in the program in order to see if it would help reduce some of the other behaviors that were becoming, I don't know, but the people were complaining about the other behaviors. Do we know whether the wellness block recess helped reduce some of the other or behavioral incidences? I mean, I think the kids didn't like recess, it's cold. Like, I don't know,
We can certainly follow that.
that was follow that. Doesn't anything to do. There's nothing to do. It's like cold in the winter, it's hard in the summer, I'd rather stay in the building. But
And I know Principal Archambault came in and spoke a little bit about that, but we can have him. We can have that.
guys, the survey,
Yes,
you hadn't seen the survey.
right.
And I still was wondering if it,
And it wasn't a lengthy survey, we just did a quick, so it wasn't ongoing 25 questions type of thing.
okay,
If you will.
got down. Well, if you close your computer down, they could see my one.
You're right. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna go through as it went through. Under the first one, Pathways to Success. I was curious about the graduation. We said 119 out of 247 students have attended, right? Were there any students who dropped out before graduation? And where are those students reflected in this?
You want to speak a little bit to that, AJ? Did you hear the question? Okay.
You're right. So that is the total cohort. So if they did not graduate, they are reflected as part of those 9 that didn't graduate, whether they stopped attending, say, as a sophomore, junior, senior in high school, if that makes sense. So of that cohort of 119 students that were with us from K to 12,
9 would
there are
represent
9 that did
drop,
not.
et cetera.
Yeah, and again, I hesitate to say this because these kiddos are so important to our school, but that 9 does include students who may be part of like a special education program who comes back until they're 20, 21, 22. So I just think that's important because it really bothers me that they are reflected as a dropout because they are the furthest thing from that.
Yeah.
But for number purposes, 110 earned their diploma,
In 4 years.
in 4 years, 5 did not.
And is there any information on the students who earned a state diploma versus a MSAD diploma?
There is. I don't have the specific number. Our numbers for the state diploma have declined significantly. And again, I'm pulling, imperfect, but we had about 12, 13, 14 students this year that earned the state diploma.
And that's a good example of why having this ahead of time, to be able to ask these questions, to be able to
Yeah.
have that
But it
information.
means like we're typically 5-6% of our students. And that was higher coming directly out of COVID. And that's one of the things, just so folks don't know. So the state of Maine, for students that had a special hardship during COVID, and that is still ongoing now, a student, if they earn 4 credits, 4 years worth of English, 2 math, 2 science, including a lab science, 2 history, and a fine arts credit are eligible to essentially petition the state of Maine through me to be issued a state of Maine diploma. The interesting part is, and again, absolutely zero judgment when I say this, and I truly don't mean it to, that is the diploma and sort of the requirements of a number of schools in our area. Like that, they choose to just partner with, this is what the state of Maine requires, this is what we offer. Ours are obviously different than that. Again, good, bad, and different. It's clearly, but it's not, the state diploma is not one of those things that's so out of whack that no one would ever think of issuing that. Like that's standard for many schools.
Thank you, AJ. I don't know the questions other can be answered, but just under the high quality, with including talking about the retention, I had trouble like understanding it in paragraph form. I didn't know if it could be just the numbers be provided in a table, like overall as of June 1st, overall as of July 1st, and then excluding pre-K, June 1st, excluding pre-K, July 1st, like in a table. I just said, it's probably because I'm more of a math oriented person as opposed to an ELA oriented person. And so maybe that's just me. But that was just a fucking head. Continuing under that, the skillful teacher class, I'm not aware of it. Could you share more about it? You mentioned that it was about less like unit planning, lesson planning, classroom management. Is it because that first year teachers, second year teachers, like are not getting this stuff, like not getting enough of it in college? Is that what we're seeing?
I think there's a trend across the state that we've all seen, that the preparedness of teachers due to the increased needs of students, isn't often meeting what we are requiring when we're in school. So we certainly try with the mentoring, with some other ways to just try to get those experiences up for our teachers. The skillful teacher is through Research for Better Teaching. And we've offered that as a graduate class for several years. We partner with Marshwood. And so they meet about it depends on how that we structure it, but oftentimes it's like 5 days during a semester. And they will go and they will meet in the cohort and work through, they have assignments that they need to do, that they need to bring back to their classroom. They're graded. So it's that kind of rigor for the teacher. And it's very beneficial when you've been teaching. When you haven't had a classroom yet, it's not as valuable as when you're having your classroom. So yeah.
You have to reflect on
Yes.
speak. Yes. Those 5 days we just provide sub coverage for those days.
And sometimes it's like 12 in the afternoon to 6 at night. So half day.
Half day. Understood. And you mentioned it's for the research of better teaching. So we give them credit hours, like that helps them move across the salary schedules, I'm assuming. It's okay. And when the teachers are visiting their colleagues, who covers their class when they go visit a teacher's class?
It can be a mentor.
Okay.
That covers it. It can be one of the building subs. So we try to schedule that ahead of time so that, we'll try to schedule that ahead of time so that principals will have the ability to get coverage in there. So we're not, short subs and pulling the other staff to go into the room. Yeah.
Thank you. And I was wondering if we might be able to have some more information about the attending monthly and targeted training for new teachers with school administrator designee. Is that like a yearly curriculum or plan where in September the meeting is about this, October the meeting is about this, November the meeting is about, is it like a professional development plan that administrators work through with these new teachers?
It's dependent on what the needs are for the building, for the teachers that are in their building. So it could be for like example, it could be about parent conferences coming up and how do you run a parent conference? So it could be that for one school when another school may not feel like that's something that they need because they're doing that, a different structure for that at a team level meeting. So it's a multitude of things. It could be about report cards. It could be about alignment of goals. So it really depends on what the needs are in that particular building.
Do the principals submit that to you, depending on the building?
We talk about that. Yes, we talk about that through, the schools have roadmaps. So we talk through some of what their roadmap looks like for the year. We also talk about that administrative meetings as well.
And so the way that you're fair, it makes me think that it's not the same year to year.
So it depends, right? There are certain things that would happen. So if I'm thinking about the mentor training that we do when we train our mentors, we do talk about like, what's going on in September that your mentees need to know. And they have a standard sort of template of things. Like typically in September, new teachers are starting to think about like the first calls out to parents when things are good and then when things are bad. So like we help walk them through some of that. So September looks like this. October is when parent conferences starts. We help prep them for parent conferences if they have never had that opportunity before. And if they're new to the district but not new to teaching, we'll adjust it based on what those needs are. So for there is a length of there's like a monthly calendar of things to cover for our mentors and mentees, and then the administrative piece of that is all aligns with the roadmaps that we have for the district. So there's a district roadmap, and then how do you implement that district roadmap in your school, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's one of those things like we want to be able to reflect on what works.
Yeah,
Right. And so not written, like we could all of a sudden have this big jump. And if it's not written what we did, then we don't know what happened. So just encourage that idea of if we're writing it down, then we look at it because what we're talking about effective programs, right? Effective practices, effective procedures, right? If we have something that's written that we can say, look, yeah, they used this resource, they met this many times, this timing was fantastic, right? And then we can say, oh, this is great. Oh, this wasn't good, and be able to have those conversations. But if we're not writing it down and it's just in a verbal discussion, then, we're not taking away from it what we maybe could. So just something to think about. Under the continued annual curriculum review, do you know when we're going to have a copy of the special education audit? When the board's going to be presented with a copy?
We can actually have Melissa come in because we asked Samantha Grace to come back in October to talk through how it's going at MHA and working a little bit through the IEP coordinator. So Melissa can come in at that time as well and talk through the audit.
So will we have the audit with enough time to read it before Melissa comes in?
She has a preliminary information, so she can compile preliminary information and we can get that out with the agenda prior to the meeting.
If we need to wait for her to come in November so that we can read the full report and then have her come late, I'm fine with that. I would just like the report.
I'm not sure how that report looks. I'm not sure what the state is giving us for a report, which is why I said Melissa.
I don't know if we have, what I mean? I know this, so you don't have it. You don't have the report.
No.
So I guess those that whenever you receive it, would love to have it. Reiterating school safety. I agree. School safety is paramount. So my understanding is we completed 3 schools, but we weren't able to complete with that particular program the security assessment with our 4 other schools. Right? Is that correct? And then with the Asher, it said that those 2 schools did the Asher. Does that mean that the other 5 schools did not complete the Asher?
Correct, because the town of Berwick approached the schools to see if they could participate. So it's not a requirement.
Okay.
It's more about York County and York County safety. And they needed spaces to work so that the town of Berwick volunteered our Berwick schools.
Yes.
So that was how that happened.
Can we put in a request to have North Berwick do North Berwick schools and maybe the sheriff department doing with Hanson? Is that something we can do?
You can request that.
Okay.
Else that will happen, but
If they're so
do
beneficial.
that. Yep, it was.
Yes, do one here, not that long ago.
We've done it. When was the last time the high school had it?
Like the active cheers, like 11 years. We have local, for was doing Audrey's blessing. We have folks in regularly just because I think it's beneficial to our students. So we'll do a lot of dog training on our campus. Even sometimes they'll do a lot of the summer in the building because we're a big building. We have all the lockers. It just works. But we'll even do trainings on our grounds that really no one knows. They can use a far corner. But I think it's just hugely beneficial to get all of these different agencies onto our campus, understanding the in and out, the parking, how our campus works, there's absolutely, in my opinion, no downside to having as many folks from many agencies here. So we have things regularly. It's been a few years since we did the full training here. I think they sort of with the Berwick, they showed those campuses this time. So it's great.
And thank you for mentioning that. It reminds me, summertime was the time when all emergency services came through our buildings, and did trainings with their staff. This turnover with police departments, emergency service personnel. And so, that was an annual thing. And I don't know if that's an annual thing here in MS 60. If it's not, maybe that would be a relevant goal that we always make sure that emergency service personnel come. They walk through our building. We give them a tour where everything is, major shutoffs, all those things that happen might be good as we talk about safety and continue on.
As part of our administrative workshop was to go through all of our crisis plans, as we mentioned before, with York County emergency management system. So we did that whole thing. Our schools do invite our police officers and our fire departments into watch drills to watch, how we do a shutdown or shelter in place. They help us with our ALICE training. So they're very active.
Great.
Before you go on, Allie, are you still there? We're off camera. She wanted to say something.
There she is.
You're muted.
We don't have audio.
Oh,
Sorry, my thing's been freezing, so I'm just going on and off so it unfreezes.
Uh,
It's somewhat.
Did you have something that you wanted to talk here about safety?
No,
Oh, it looked like you wanted to make a comment at some
No.
point.
sorry, no.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
I just have a couple more. The Noble Middle School survey, do we know how often that survey was given? Was it just at the beginning and end of the, like, what were the months? And maybe a consideration would be do it a few times, like maybe an early year, maybe at the end of each quarter almost to, so we can see the fluctuation, right, over the course of the year. Because I hear Ms. Sewell saying, yeah, the winter months are probably not as popular as the September and May months. Somebody do that. The community engagement, you mentioned visiting like during the story hours at the libraries. Can we also make a concerted effort to reach out to our retired population as well and find out where they're hanging out and make sure we're touching base with them as well?
When we did that, it was recommended to go to the libraries. So that's why we started there.
Okay, great. And then the monthly newsletter, I appreciate the fact that you said some months were heavier than others. Maybe actually give a scatter plot of the months, you know what I mean? So we can actually see the fluctuation. And then we can look at the trend line. Are we trending in the right direction? Which would be great data for us to have as the board. And then my last thing, could you just talk a little bit about learning fairs and school reporting 85 to 95% participation rate? Can you help me understand what is a learning fair, and then how do you evaluate 85 to 95% of participation? Thank you.
So for example, Hussey School third grade, part of their learning fair is to create the lighthouses. I don't know if you remember. Yes. The state of Maine is covered in third grade. So one of the culminating activities for third grade at Hussey School is the lighthouses. And so they keep track of who's coming in the building. So that's how we know what the participation rate is for that. They did the Day of the Arts in Lebanon as well, and that would be a learning fair where they invited families and community members in. Students participated in activities. They had, was it Jump to Funk? I think it was Jump to Funk that came in as well. So again, it's the manual awareness of who's in the building and who's coming in and those types of
So
things.
is it-
These are learning fairs.
So it's 80 to 90% of all the potential parental population, 85 to 90% of all potential in that grade level or in the school?
In it, whatever it's open up to. So if
Okay.
it's third grade, it's the third grade. If it's the whole school, it's the whole
So
school.
that's the average of all of the ones across the district. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Did you have a?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Lebanon, where you're talking about identifying the exact infrastructure, that piece. When are you thinking that that conversation is going to begin? Because I think sooner rather than later is better. And I do think a committee would be super beneficial. So what are your thoughts about that goal?
So one of the thoughts, we've had a lot of conversations about how best to go about looking at the facilities. And we've historically talked about, do we have a committee or does it go to the full board? When we've been through the budget process, it has felt and sounded like the full board wants to participate in these conversations rather than have a subcommittee. We used to have a facilities and finance committee, and the last 3 years that we had done that, the goal of that was to have board members, administrators, sit in on that committee so that some of those finer details of the budget were addressed through that, so that when we had a board meeting, less time would be spent on the budget, because some of those initial questions were asked and understood by, the group, the committee that was sitting there, and they were able to communicate that out to the rest of the committee. Over those last 3 years when we had that, there wasn't a lot of participation for a lot of reasons. And so the board said, we want to stop this. We want it to be a full board discussion. As part of our business briefs, we are going to talk about how best to start talking about the facilities. And if it's a subcommittee or a committee, we can do that. And if it's the whole board workshop style, we can do that.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
When you're deciding, can we include
staff members from Hanson because nobody knows the ins and outs of those buildings and how the day goes better than them. Our admin are brand new, wonderful, they're amazing, but they're brand new. So I feel like including some staff members that have been there for a while.
At those times that we need to have those kinds of discussions, yes, if we're talking infrastructure, facilities like heating, all of that, that would be more of the facilities focus. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was part of your point too, though, public participation. And
There's just a lot of parents, I think, that have a voice.
Yes,
in it, so understand the whole board wanting, and that's appropriate. But I do think a subcommittee might also be appropriate, or at least a workshop to say, like, what are some concerns?
I think like a setup like we had for the
Strategic planning.
where we had all the people in here and a board member at each table and a facilitated conversation would be a really great way to involve everybody.
and we know how important Lebanon Elementary School is to the community.
Yeah.
Like we absolutely know and understand that and want to include, the town in that discussion.
And I know that's a piece of it. The bigger piece is if that building can no longer be used, we have a big problem in Lebanon because we lose a lot of space in that case. And I think also there's a lot of people in the community in Lebanon that don't fully understand what's happening with that building currently today. There's some misinformation. And I think we need to be communicating better about what's actually happening and how does the day look. Some of the misinformation doesn't help the fact that it doesn't look great. It's not ideal, but there is some misinformation. So I just think we need to be having this conversation soon.
Yeah.
Do we have the final Harriman study yet? And the one that we saw in March was the draft, and there was still I think there were 2 chapters to come.
That was the last one.
That's lots.
That was the last one we received.
But is what we have what you have. Okay, so should we check in with them and see if because they were going to give a summary, or I forget, I don't have it with me.
Yeah,
but
we can check the status of that. Yeah.
And then maybe we could revisit it. And
That's part of what we need to do. Yeah, absolutely.
And on that same note, just because I'm curious as to why Mary Hurd isn't on that same concern list, because it is just as old. If it's age that's causing the concern, why aren't we looking at Mary Hurd as well as Lebanon when we look at the infrastructure of these buildings? Just curious. Of course, I'm needing my curiosity satisfied too, so I forgive it. Thank you.
I just had a quick question about the community involvement. I know there's been concerns about like the board's hiding things. Are we able to go live, or does everyone have to wait for everything to be uploaded to YouTube, or is there a way for us to go? I think in the past we used to be, I know I used to watch it live. There's no live.
You can have that discussion and you can make that decision. Okay. The reason why that happened is because we were going live. And then through COVID, there was a lot of parent input and community input at the board meetings, which spilled over into the schools the next day. And we were having some behavioral issues at school that we really wouldn't have necessarily had if those meetings were not broadcast live. So we stopped that. If you want to have that go live again, that's certainly something that you all can make that decision about. It's not our decision. The board made that decision then.
Okay, thank you. Does that work with the 3 different cable providers?
That's above my pay grade. I don't know that one.
Because I think
Talk to a stack here.
it used to be live in Berwick.
Yes.
Okay, that was easy, but I think the other cable providers are problematic.
Wouldn't it be through the Berwick TV, or is that not
Correct, but it's not broadcast in the other towns.
Yeah. But we have not online, like on their website, they don't go live on their Facebook page. It's not, okay.
No.
Yeah, and BC TV is not here filming us.
Right.
And we would be charged
That used to be.
They used
And we, yeah, there's a C for that.
yes.
Nancy?
Can I just get a clarification of that Lebanon, because like you say, there's been a lot of odd stuff going on. I know, I've heard that the YMCA is there morning and afternoon.
Y Care is there,
Okay,
PE is there, STEM is there, and adult education classes are occurring.
so PE and STEM,
Yes.
not PE and art. So there's STEM every,
Every day, similar to PE. It's a special.
It's a
like
special.
PE.
good.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on, not going to change for a while. Good. Thank you.
Unless something happens with the facility.
Yeah.
Ally,
Hi, I just want to support Marissa's idea that was Marissa, I think, talking. I want to make sure to support her idea of the live streams. I think that would be like so perfect for everybody right now. I don't know when we could move that to an agenda item to get the rest of the board's view on that, or if we can move that to a discussion for next week. But I think kind of across the board, it's just so much more accessible and timely to have them live.
we can put it on the agenda for next time, because that way, that would give us 2 weeks to collect information about the best way to go about that. And is it feasible for all 3 towns? We can come back with further information.
The cost implications.
Yes, if there are.
If there are any.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a question, Sue. So when we got together and came up with this noble 2030 plan, it was 2023. Do you revisit these periodically, like every other year, or when you have a 5-year plan?
So I think it's really when we are meeting with the board about our goals, I think that's the piece of it. And if you feel like there's a piece that we need to revisit or look at, I think you can charge us with pull some teams together and talk us through.
Okay.
Yep. Because a lot has changed and fall. So yeah, great. So I'm happy to pull together an updated team if you'd like to do that, or looking at specific. Part of me thinks let's look at what we can address together as a board. And then if there are pieces that are really outstanding that we feel like we need to like do a deeper dive into, we could do that with a subcommittee kind of group, if that makes sense.
What do folks think about that?
I kind of would like to let this one go. There's still some points we haven't reached yet. But that we complete some of the pieces that they're not at.
Like the first one?
Maybe after budget season, we could revisit it.
Yeah.
This is always actually really invigorating. This is the kind of stuff that's like thinking about the future, and those are good things, right? So if we log through budget, we can.
I would love
something good to look at.
I would love to look at school safety and how we can grow that conversation.
Well, so I would also suggest that some of these things are very much budget appropriate to talk about. Like school safety would be something we should be talking about. Like, what are we thinking about? We can do that prior to budget season as well. So we might want to pick a couple of key points and address those as we're going into those seasons. Again, facilities impacts the budget, so there's a lot to address right here and now.
If folks want to think about that and send me a note with any topics you feel should be taking a deeper dive into or updating.
As far as the strategic plan, just to clarify.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
There's lots of things to deeper dive.
Right. All right, why don't we plan on doing that? And if you could send that to me by a week from today, then I can get that information to Audra and Sue so that they can be prepared for a response.
And also including us in the email.
Yes.
Yes, yep, thank you.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, two.
Oh, sorry, Nancy.
On the pathways to success, it looks like, and I hesitate to say it, but it looks like our reading scores may have gone down a little bit. Thought we were closer to 70 at the end of last year, or in the spring through test. So
I would need to go back and look at that data.
I know, I can't remember, but my big question is, what is the plan for our reading? What are we thinking of doing about this reading that is?
We are doing a curriculum review of reading this year, as Dr. Swiger mentioned. Yep. And so that entails everything that she talked about when she talked about the math review, that there will be a committee formed of staff, that they will look at different pieces of what we need. And we will talk to representatives, look at programming. We will go visit schools. We will implement and pilot programs or pilot different curriculum areas. And then there will be a recommendation made.
And I just get clarification. You want our thoughts on how we want to, if we want to edit the strategic plan and whether there should be a committee on there, not board goals, right? Those are two different things. I'm seeking clarification.
Well,
That's a good question.
I mean, if the strategic plan, the goals are how we get to where the vision is. They're the steps we take, the tactics we take. So I don't know that you can actually unbundle them.
The way that I see it, and is I'm open up for discussion. The strategic plan is very visionary.
Yep.
There's no numbers associated with it, but board goals are number focused. Like some of our board goals are more like check marks. Did we or did we not? Right. But true goals have a measure, have a number associated with it, or some sort of measurement so we can see the trend heading in the right direction. So if we're talking about strategic plan, like the vision statements, that's visionary, right? If we're talking board goals, that's a very different topic. And so what do you want feedback on? What was the thought? What's the thought? Is it on the strategic plan, like the Noble 2030, those statements, right? The 4 pillars, or are we talking about the column that has tactics, steps, and evidence?
So do you mind? I feel like last year when we went through the board goal conversation that it was murky. Folks were not, like, there was kind of some discrepancies or differences in the whole idea of what board goals are and that kind of thing. Personally, I would love you to have some specific thoughts around what you are thinking about for goals. Like, so for instance, Josh, you had it was pretty varied as opposed to what we presented. So what are you looking for? What are you guys looking for in terms of board goals so that they can be developed here together? You can duke it out amongst yourselves. I mean, our goal is to be, well, I mean, it's true, right? No, we are not wanting to provide all of the direction. We can give you what we think is a good, like, let's really, where are we going to use our resources? Where are we going to spend our time and energy? I would like to know where you're looking, what your goals are, and then we can try to either meet those goals or argue with you about how that doesn't really work. You know what I mean? Like, let's have a real conversation.
But I do think that the goals have to feed into the vision.
Well, the strategic plan is definitely the foundation for how we set our goals and where we're going. Yeah.
Can I just say, I don't think we are in a place to change the strategic plan, given the way it was created with community involvement. I agree. I think that-
Agreed. That's why I was seeking clarification.
Yeah, so I think what we're talking about is just those goals, the way we get there. So I think.
So I do agree that the strategic plan is very much a visionary picture. And so what the specific goal is to reach that vision needs to be very clear. And I think we tried to provide very clear, sort of at least things that we think that we can provide documentation on, pluses and minuses, right? So I'm very interested in what people come up with for what you think of as bold as well.
Ally?
Hi. So I feel personally like we should leave the goals. I feel like having you guys have a consistent goal year to year is like so helpful for everybody. Obviously I'm welcoming like the conversation because we do have some new challenges that were brought to our attention, like when we did that deeper dive with Dr. Schweiger, in regards to like our economically disadvantaged population at school, and groups like that I would love to see incorporated with some numbers to back up the goal. But I feel like changing it year after year when we have like these big overarching goals doesn't really make sense. You know, we have qualitative and quantitative goals in here that I feel like are all encompassing of our vision. So I don't want to keep changing it on you guys. But maybe adding a thing here or there that's like very important and significant would make sense. Yeah, I just feel like more progress happens when when you have the same goals for at least a few years.
I agree.
So basically then these are our goals. Or is that what we're saying?
I don't quite think, Alice, like some tweaks are fine, but are you saying some tweaks are fine, but massively changing them does make it very difficult to measure progress. If you
Right,
change
like
it.
for example, we could add into our percentage increase on our newest scores. We can now identify that group that's not meeting, and we could possibly have like a more specific goal within that subsection for that group, because we know that's what's actually influencing our overall number. So it's more of a additional point than a new point.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, I find like, and there's some goals that have been met. So what are we striving for now? We've met it, we're done, we're just gonna sit, say tea, not margaritas, but, you know, I was trying to find the appropriate word, I didn't. So let's make another goal, right? We met this goal, like graduation goal. So what could be another goal under graduation that we could work towards, because we already met that goal and we succeeded. So now we need another goal.
Or do you maintain? I mean, in some cases, when you're at a high point, maintaining that is
a challenge.
It is, but you could also, you know, shoot for the moon and for the stars. Like, you know, we already met that goal. So let's go a little bit further because, you know, that's how you get your bonus job. I'm done. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. I'm Nora Marguerite.
Right, that's cool.
You do it, I promise.
Goals are what you reach for. And the goal is that when you reach that goal, then you look again and say, okay, how can we improve even more? Sometimes you can't. Pretty rare though, right? It's pretty rare that you can't do better. So like it's IEP land, right? You're reaching a goal and then hopefully you make that goal. And if you don't, then you adjust. So I think the hardest part is that circumstances impact everything all the time. Things happen that you don't anticipate. So sometimes you don't reach the goal that you thought there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get here. Well, COVID happens, things happen. So I think it's just being open to the conversations, open to the data, looking at things and saying, okay, how can we best meet the next step? You know, and being, I don't know, like working together is the key, right? Working together.
I would appreciate the time to send emails and at least process it. I don't want to make a decision just on, you know, the 45 minutes that we've been discussing this, just to say, oh, we're just continuing. I would love some processing time. And that's what I would ask the board, to give some processing time. And if the result is in 2 weeks that we're not changing hardly anything, and okay, so be it. But I would encourage the board to give some processing time for that. The other thing I wanted to mention is it's important to be a a data savvy district as a board, right? And this is really, since I've been on the board, this is the first glance that we've had like district data talking about certain numbers, you know, and if we could watch these numbers over the course of 10 years, that tells us a lot of information. And any board member that comes on can see these numbers and see that what we've been working on and the progress has been made, you know, and if it goes down, well, there are reasons why that, as Sue mentioned. But I think continuing on with data, having goals that are measurable is really a good thing.
And I just want to add or touch base, add on to what you were saying. So goals are goals. They just help drive direction. They give us direction. Your schools have goals. Your teachers have goals. I think you have them set their goals in your administrative. So it's not a bad thing to have goals because it just gives us that direction we need to keep moving in the direction we want to go in. And yes, things happen. We have to go back and look at them and say, okay, what do we need to do now and fix it? It's not encased in concrete. Everything can be changed. That's the beauty of being alive and being out on a sunny day. But I think goals are good. And data is good. I love them both. So I think we can look at these goals and maybe tweak some of them to make them better. Or maybe we need to go, what are we at, 93% graduation rate? No, let's shoot for 95. What do you think? Too much?
So the email.
I know.
Put it in the email.
I'm not going to do that. Graduation rate. But I just think, I mean, why not raise the bar a little bit more? Keep climbing. Isn't that what you do when you're jumping? They're good. You raise the bar and they jump a little higher. So
Yes, but I'm just thinking about like, what needs to happen on the daily basis. So I want to be sure that what people are asking is realistic of us to be able to provide the information that you need, but also recognizing that we're running a district and that the things, so all of this, I have goals for me too, like to be able to like maintain balance and all the things that we need.
you should think goals are good. I think I would encourage, like, just thinking about you as the chair, getting all these emails. I'm just wondering, is there a better format? Like, is our next meeting, do you have a workshop on the goals and bring your information, like as you reflect and as you think through, rather than you have all these emails, because that can get overwhelming as well. And that you want to have that conversation.
Right.
So is that a better opportunity to do so by having a workshop, like in a workshop model versus emails?
I think that's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
If we do that, would it be possible, to Josh's point of like seeing information beforehand, would it be possible to kind of still do the same thing where like we have a Google Doc that we add stuff to by the end of next week or something like that, so we can all like see what each other has said, process, and then come to the workshop ready to
That would be a good way to start. Yeah. Get some thoughts on paper and get some reactions.
Two, Melissa, your lights on. Or Marissa. Somebody.
I don't know how to turn it off.
I'll just add a comment that this isn't the first time I've seen data in this district. I've seen tons of data as a board member in this district. I think we have decades of data that we can look at. It's just a question of how you want it. And to that point, I hear you, Josh. I'm a math person, and scatter plots and graphs or charts are great, but I also want to be mindful. I noted here that you're also going through the accreditation process. There's a lot going on here, and we're coming into budget season, so just be careful what we ask.
So I'm just creating a document that says board goals. I'll share it with you guys. Feel free to put some information in it so that everybody can look at it and identify yourselves, right? Okay, so that we know. And you can do colors if you want, whatever works.
So we already have 2 agenda items for next time. So
Right.
we have the live streaming information, and then this. In addition to our typical other
Yes.
items that we cover.
Okay, so I was gonna ask that, were we talking about a different night of just, it would be a single agenda item, board goals? So, because, there's a lot that we discussed and we have a lot going on. We have Harriman, we have pre-K, we have special ed audit. There's a lot of big things to cover in a short amount of time because I think as I saw the timeline, you put together a preliminary budget in something like January and it's September. Like, just saying, I would be open. I would be open to coming on a separate night, single item board goals. And I agree with what you said, Lauren, put things on paper and then that's just, I would be open to that.
Could we substitute sorry, Denise, the business workshop for our next regularly scheduled?
You got it, girl.
And have our goals discussion workshop then?
Yeah, what if we do it like an hour? I don't know if people are available, but an hour before, so it kind of gives us a time bound conversation. So we're stuck to an hour, and then we can add another meeting or workshop if we need to.
Yeah,
So we're not
Bad idea.
going down a rabbit hole.
We tentatively have the policy committee meeting next week, before next meeting at 6 o'clock. So.
Just kidding.
Nope,
Just kidding.
and speaking of the policy committee, I've had two people step up and say they'd like to be on the policy committee. Just wanted to remind you, if anybody else would like to be on that committee.
One of them, me?
No,
Good, I'll stay on that.
okay, good.
If you need some,
But I think it was Josh and Marissa.
okay.
It could be that we're just gonna have long nights together.
We need food then.
okay.
Sure.
Right, so
Yeah.
I'll bring
Some hot
these next.
hot cider.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Cider.
She's in at the house still.
Okay. All right, so.
Nope.
Oops, sorry, sorry. Little late jumper here.
Graduation rates come up a couple of times. I realize the interest in seeing those start with the district and continue all 12 years to count them. Is there a reason that in totality the others are not being counted? I think the total one is there as well.
The percentage.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
I saw the total, it was like 274. And then you see a percentage that was like
Them.
33, I took it.
Yeah, it's at the top of the next page.
It's the one that's just
Overall graduation. That's the total graduation rate of all.
it's only slightly different.
Okay, great, thanks.
Or
All right, so, and Pleasant.
Okay. We don't have any employment updates at this point in time.
Except that we hired
A driver.
which is a big one.
Yeah, but they were already in process, right?
No, I know, but I'm just excited.
Do we have any pending do we have any openings that we're searching for?
We have a cook here that was just posted. And then
working on
we
a
have
custodial piece,
driver of a custodial piece. And then we do have an advertisement out for part-time drivers and activity run drivers.
I have seen the moment. Thanks.
Superintendent update.
Okay, this update, I was going to include some of the first day, but we covered that and it was pretty thorough. So what I want to hand out is the policy on visitors in the school. And we did talk about this last year. We also talked about it at our last meeting, but I just wanted to make sure to hand this out so that we can all look at this together.
You get one more.
Oh. Sorry.
Take it.
Thank you.
I don't know if you would really know.
Yeah, exactly.
They paid. Is in for human fixes.
I'll just give you a minute to review this. So I just wanted to bring this out again because at our last board meeting, we talked about if you are going in to visit a school or wish to do so, that you contact the central office and that we work with the administration at that building to facilitate that meeting. And there was a question about, oh, I thought that we had talked about it a different way. So just as a reminder with this policy that there are procedures in place and those are subject to approval by the superintendent. So we do have procedures in place for that. And that's what we discussed last time. And that a visitor is anybody who is not an employee or a student in the school. So that's everybody else. And that the school board members follow the same policy as all visitors. So those are the points that I just wanted to highlight because those are the ones that really focus in on the process of, or the protocol or practice that we talked about last year and really worked on last year. And we did have success with that. Ally used that several times. You know, Jerry emailed, you know, about, and it didn't slow anything down. Ally, I think you can speak to that because I know, you know, that was, do you want to just talk about that a little bit, your experience?
Yeah, it was super easy for me to visit. I visited the Hussey School. I visited the Knowlton School on their move up day. It was as simple as just reaching out to Audra. She responded that day to both of them. She reached out to their principals just to give a little courtesy call. And they certainly didn't, I mean, they weren't like catering to me because I was there. They were very much going about business as usual and doing what they were going to do anyways. And they were fantastic. I got a little tour of the school, but I got to see like business as usual going on, and the great job they were doing. So I think it was a really productive and good way to go into the school. I would certainly like feel very awkward just walking in. So that's my 2 cents on that. I felt great about the process and it was easy and all good.
So you had concerns, Josh?
Yeah, at our March 6th meeting, Ally made a motion to send this to the policy committee. It was seconded by me, but the policy committee hasn't met to discuss this policy. That was the last step we were at. I'd like to see that process continue out since that was the action of the board.
So in that case, until it goes to the policy committee and it can go the next meeting, then this is intact until that policy committee makes a decision. So that means there is a protocol right now in place for that to occur.
Well, and I just want to clarify to me, and this is probably good to clarify, the term visitor, right? The term visitor shall apply to any person on school grounds or in school buildings who is not an employee or a student of the school student of the school unit. You do realize that by that definition, every parent who shows up in the office to pick up their child now is to notify the central office that they're coming to the school. That's what the policy says. I think that's incredibly overwhelming to consider the number of emails or phone calls the central office might get for every person who's going to be stepping on school grounds. That's why I think it needs to go to the policy committee and it needs to be audited. So it makes sense.
What I would say is that there are that would be a different procedure. If a parent is coming to pick their child up because they have to go to the dentist, that's a different procedure than somebody coming into the building. So, but yes, we can certainly talk through that at the policy committee, but for right now, this is,
Lisa?
I think I see, I read it the same way, not so much as picking up your child, but having worked in the school, we get lots of parents that come and volunteer, and their only step is to fill out that volunteer form, and it comes to you guys and they get the background check and all of that. That's the only procedure they have to go through, because it's pretty much like the classroom teacher will ask parents if they want to come in and volunteer, then they hand them the form, they fill it out, comes here, and it's all facilitated between the classroom teacher and the parent from that point on.
But it's initially done at the central office.
So that's what you mean.
We approve those volunteer forms. We ask
Right.
teachers to submit those forms to us, and we go through those forms to make sure that everything's in order.
So then my
And it
Yes.
becomes a regular,
Yes.
regular.
follow-up
Yep, right.
is like, you allowed me to go volunteer this week in Lebanon. Do I have to get that permission every time? Or now that I've gotten your permission, if the principal reaches out and asks, hey, can you come help with this? Do I have to come back to you and ask your permission? Or have you granted me that permission?
I think you've talked about a certain situation that you were in.
Well, she just texted me today and said, can you
Right.
help us with the
Yes.
process next week? So like, do I need to come back to you?
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
We've talked, she and I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
And that's the thing is that we are the conduit,
Yep.
but they facilitate it, just like the teachers. Like the teachers will facilitate that, but we are the conduit. Yeah.
So this will be on our agenda for next Thursday or our next meeting.
Yep. Can I just add, also in the policy committee, does take a look at this to somehow, and I'm not sure exactly how, but somehow to, add in verbiage about like during school hours or something like that, because you're right, like open house the other night. So things like that, like, I mean, and I feel like it's a no-brainer, but also to the point of a policy is a policy, open house, or if there's a concert going on during the day at school that parents are invited to, which they have to sign in at the office, but I don't know, something to kind of cover that piece of it too.
Right. And I
It's not
guess
covered somewhere else.
that goes,
Yeah.
and it's a good policy comment because it was open house was a procedure that we approved.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are at other. Do we have any other topics that need to be discussed tonight? Okay. Is it Josh or Nancy up here?
I was wondering if we could get some point in the near future, or even if maybe it's going to be Monday night at the open house, pathways, what is it, multiple pathways? Can we get an explanation of what that is and how it's, are you guys going to do it Monday night?
So it's not, so members of that evening, so it would be open to come and visit.
I just
Want to learn, like,
want to learn about,
what's it all about?
just want to learn about it.
Is it on the website? Is there like a document on the website that we can read all about it?
It's for the application that maybe needs to fill out. I believe that's right on the website.
Well, let me start with the document.
It would explain the process, but yeah, I can get that to you guys to get it off the website and get it right into you guys' hands.
Oh, thank you. We were talking about it the other night, and it's like, well, we have a lot of questions.
Got the syllabus from the teachers, but I didn't know if it was,
Use your mic if you would, Marissa.
I'm pretty this night. I got the syllabus from the teachers, but I don't know if I'm allowed to share that with someone that's not in the program.
There's a pretty good overview on the website about multiple pathways. It does cover that, but, and I'll send you a link to it right now. Because it's easy.
I just didn't know if it was shareable because it's.
It might be really nice. It might be nice.
I get emails, I get emails from the director because my student's in that program. And he did just send me this beautiful email that has all the syllabus and all this of the senior class. And so I just didn't know whether to share that or not, but if I'm allowed to share that, then
You want to just send it to me and I'll forward it up?
Yeah,
Correct. Yes, and I just did one with the civil teacher. I sent a little.
And I think it would be great as we go into the school year if we had members of that particular group of students come in and present and talk about the work that they've been focusing on as part of the program. Ellie. Oh, Ellie, yes.
So I just wanted to mention, because obviously in light of the tragedies that have been going on that Peg touched on the past week, I'm enrolled in a new class that talks a lot about public safety, public school safety. And I think it's important for us to know, and I don't want to be callous about the events that happened. And I know it's a horrible thing that we think about every day, sending our kids to school. But our kids are statistically safer right now in public schools in America than they have ever been. They're the least likely to be a victim of violent crime than they have been in decades, which was shocking for me to learn and really comforting for me to learn as a parent that on the day-to-day, in 1992, you were much more likely to have been a victim of a violent crime in school. So I know the things we're dealing with are horrifying and they get a lot of media coverage, and I don't want to downplay that at all. We obviously have to keep our eye on that, but just to provide some comfort for people who are sending their kids into schools right now, because of the increased eye and the watch we are keeping on this problem and the increases of security, our kids really are safer than ever in our school. So I commend everyone that's involved in that.
I'll just respond to that by saying that may be true, but the number one cause of death for kids in this country is gun violence. So it's hard to square that for me. You'd really have to, and I'm sure you're doing it in your class, and that sounds like a really cool class, by the way, but you have to dig in. What was the violence in 92 and where was it? I think right now what we're seeing in this country is it's unpredictable, it's random, and it's devastating.
Thank you. I've brought this up a number of times, and so in order for the board to have a discussion about this, I'm going to move that all information related to topics that are to be presented, discussed, and or acted upon during a school board meeting be included along with the agenda for the meeting.
I think my comment is going to be,
We need a second to discuss it.
Okay.
If no one's want a second, then it drops.
second. So I think what I would comment on that is there's a lot of times that we're making presentations. This presentation, we stopped at 6:15. And there's a balance between the board wanting information and how quickly we can get that out. And we didn't feel it was in good. First of all, we're not going to provide you with a half done presentation. As I said, we just certified the graduation rates. We were, literally working till 6:15, and then we drove over here for the meeting. So it is not intentional that we are trying to keep information from you. It is more about trying to provide things in a timely manner so that you can move ahead. It was important to talk about the goals. We knew that, we understood that. Kate and I and Sue had a conversation about this is the meeting for the goals. So we worked to get that as quickly as we could. When we can, we certainly will. I mean, if the board's will is that everything has to go out the Thursday before, then there will be things that will be delayed until we can get a presentation. Dr. Swiger, with her presentation, you wanted that ahead of time too, literally was working right up until the time that we came in and had that meeting. So it is, again, we are doing the job of the day and this as well. And that's all fine and good, but I ask for grace and understanding when a presentation is being provided. We also want the board to hear the same thing at the same time. And that's really important, especially when you're talking about data points. Everybody's in a different place with understanding data, and we have new board members on, and it's complicated. It takes hours and hours and hours to sift through it enough to make it so that we meet the needs of the board, and everybody has an understanding of what that information is. So that would be my piece. It's not intentional that we're trying to keep any information or delay any information. It's that we are trying to make sure that it's as clear and comprehensive as we can be with everything all of those points. So and like I said, it's up to you. And if you wish it to be a different way, then I would just say things may take a different trajectory time-wise.
I would also say that it was stated by the board that they really wanted to have the goals discussion at the first meeting of the school year. Well, it was the first week of school too. So the administration was not sitting around eating bonbons and twiddling their fingers. They had their hands full. So some grace, I would also ask for some grace because timing is everything. And, you know, I totally support getting information in a timely manner. Sounds pretty timely if we're finishing up and verifying graduation rates on the day that you're getting the information. So my 2 cents. Nancy?
One of the things that might help, I always get a hard copy and I can flip through the hard copy. So when we have the slides up, I can go back and refresh my memory if I have a question on something. And I hate to use up paper like that because that's a lot of paper, but it does make a whole lot of difference if you have a hard copy in front of you while you're being presented with the information. So if we can't get it in advance, that would at least allow us to be able, when you show a presentation of slides, you can't remember which slide it was you wanted to ask a question about. It's over and done with. So if we don't get a chance to see the material first, we don't get a chance to process it. But as a compromise, until we can come up with a better plan, maybe we could just condense it down like the PowerPoints used to be, you know, 3 slides on a page and do that. And then we can actually make notes of what's being said. And
Everybody got a copy of this presentation this evening, hard copy.
right, no, I know. And but I'm just saying, the Swiger's presentation, I had the hard copy. So I was actually able to go back and forth. On Harriman's study, I had a hard copy. So I was able to see what was presented because I could see it in front of me, whereas the slides you couldn't see. So I'm just suggesting hard copies, if it's going to be a cold presentation, maybe we could get hard copies to make it a little bit easier to follow along. And then
To the point of a cold presentation, you did have the goals prior to, we linked the goals.
no, I'm not talking about tonight's at all. No, we had them. And I thought tonight went pretty smoothly. I mean, it was quick, but we were able to keep up. I mean, was able to keep up, but the slides are the ones I think that are causing presentations are considerably harder.
I know Ally's waiting, but I just want to say maybe that's a great idea, but maybe everybody doesn't need it. And you could just do a poll for who wants those to save paper. Because I'm happy using it electronically and saving the paper.
Ally?
I too am a paper person, Nancy, so I understand this. So I would be on the paper list. Although I know I am sad for the trees, but I also really like to take notes on paper. I wanted to just note that if it's a situation where we weren't presented with, you know, something because it was the last, you know, you're crunching numbers till the last minute and you didn't want to send us incomplete information, maybe we just need to be open to the idea that maybe there needs to be like another 15-minute discussion added onto the following meeting. And maybe that can be our protocol instead of kind of like, you know, we can still have that time. And I know it can delay things, but there's always an option for more discussion at a next meeting. You know, we never don't have that option. So I would just say maybe that's just what we suggest at that point.
That's a good suggestion. Gosh.
Should have turned the button on before I did that. So like I spend every day with high schoolers teaching them how to advocate for themselves in order that they can give me their best work, their best attention, right? So I'm someone who needs processing time. If I get something new and I read it, I need to read it 2, 3, 4 times before it makes sense to me. And in that multiple reading, I have questions. So well, what about, and then I look at those questions at another time. And sometimes in reading it, oh, I answered that question or a different question comes up. I am a person who needs processing time. When I am given something that I have to read, like today's the board goals, right? It's fantastic to have in paper. Absolutely. I agree. This is certainly better. But because there's writing on this, I cannot listen and read and process at the same time. I cannot do it. So my ability to think, to contribute, to ask questions is taken away from me when I don't have information to process. So I'm advocating for people like me. And if I'm the only person on the board that's like this, I'm so sorry. But it is really that important for me. I don't want you rushing. I mean, you finishing a presentation 15 minutes before presenting to us, I'm so sorry. That is not my intention at all. Whatever time you need to put together the presentation and then you send it to us, just tell us when that's happening. If you say, hey, look, we're going to receive the data on this time, we're going to go through the data, we will have the presentation completed by this Friday, so it will be on this agenda. I'm good because you've told me the timeline. And I'm happy. I wait for that time. I can see it. I think if we had things ahead of time, it would slow things down, and maybe we wouldn't be in such a rush like this year when it came to reconfiguration. Just think about what that moment when we received the Harriman study. I mean, they spoke for a long time. It was, I don't know, it was a crazy amount of slides, right? And then your presentation after, and then it's like, now we gotta make a decision. Like that was so fast. And we, I mean, the staff, I agree what you said at Open House. They were fantastic. Every open house I've been to, the staff have been absolutely wonderful. And they look absolutely exhausted. They are doing a great job. I am giving them credit. And I have told everyone I meet, thank you so much. I know how hard you worked this summer. I'm so grateful for it. Great job. But they are tired. And they are tired because we made a very fast decision. And I think we need to slow it down. And if this is one of the ways that we can slow it down and be more methodical about what we do, I am all for it.
I think what I would like to add to that is, again, going to the presentation, the idea about maybe the next meeting, allotting 15 minutes, allotting time for those follow-up questions. We always know we have that opportunity under other business, but we can add it as an agenda item. I'm very leery to have presentations go out without the full context, not only the time that it takes, the accuracy with which we want to get it done, but also the full context of what that is to go out before a meeting. I understand and respect the fact that you are the learning style that you're talking about. I absolutely understand and respect that. But I'm also saying that context of having that information by that person that's giving it, that is a significant piece as well. So not only is it just getting the information in presentation form, but it's also who's presenting, what's being presented, and how to lay that groundwork so everybody has that same understanding.
Right. I give you a lot of credit because even though you just got that paper, you probably came up with the most comments and questions. And so I think you're a faster study than you admit.
Thank you, Kate.
Is it okay? There we go. It does make sense to be able to provide more time if necessary. So understanding, so I do believe that we really would like to be the ones who present information to you as a whole group that you can then process. And then maybe we plan our things for doing a quick overview presentation with a fuller conversation at the following board meeting so that it meets everybody's needs, if that makes sense. I mean,
so what I hear you saying is a presentation with no discussion, because that's what, I mean, or very little. I think we have to figure that out. I'm not opposed to that because I agree. But as soon as discussion happens for me, I lose my train of thought as I'm trying to read, right? So it's one of those nuances for me.
So similar to what we do in our schools, we set up a process where we can do our presentation. You can ask clarifying questions. We step away. And then at the next meeting, we have the full conversation, if that helps.
It might.
I'm willing to try that.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment. I think it's awesome that you're advocating for yourself, Josh. And I think what you're really asking for is an accommodation. And I think this is a good exercise in like the district really like living up to what we say about accommodating different learning styles. So I am fully supportive of giving you that extra time that you need to like process this. And I think it's a good idea to revisit. And I think it's also a good exercise for us to show on the board about different learning styles. So that's great.
No, I was just going to say similarly, like it takes me a while to process things also, but I do 100% support getting the presentation information at the time of the presentation, because even just the simple fact of like public speaking courses will tell you like to often start a presentation with a shocking fact or a shocking statement or something like that. And I think we're all very proficient Googlers in here. And I would hate for us to lose sight of the presentation at hand because we all just Googled the first thing to see if it was right or wrong, and to lose credibility for someone because we had a chance to Google something ahead of time or things like that. I can also see it. I don't think that would be anyone's intention, but I could also see it going down a rabbit hole in that way too. So I do like the idea of, I love the idea of getting a PowerPoint presentation, the 3 per page with the note section on each next to each of them. I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. But I do also think to keep the board, one of our responsibilities is being time bound, to get information when we can get it. So for tonight's presentation example, to have had it tonight, but then to spend some time at the next meeting with follow-up questions, concerns. I'm 100% someone who's like, oh, why didn't I ask that? Oh, wait, I have this question. But I've never felt uncomfortable as a board member going back around to anyone to ask for clarification, whether in an email, whether at a meeting, on any platform, someone from the public. So I think that that's always been welcomed, or I've never felt unwelcome to do so.
If we want to do that, then I simply will rescind my motion. You would need to second it.
I will second it.
Thank you.
So we'll set a protocol in place for that. I love her.
So just a process question. You made a motion, you seconded.
No, it's seconded.
Yeah, and then they just unsecond.
Unseconded.
They rescinded.
Got it. Okay.
What are we gonna do?
What?
Have the presentation initially, get clarifying questions, but then put off the discussion till the following meeting so people can process what they received.
Can we have maybe on the agenda a section that says old business, and so we can add that so we know these are old businesses that are addressed? Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe that's the first part of other is old business.
I just want to add, I know we said clarifying questions, but I also think like in general comments, like it doesn't, in my mind, I feel like it doesn't have to be the deep dive into things, but like general conversation about it is fine. I don't want us to feel like we're stuck to just clarifying questions. There, like some conversation is okay, because it might be something that could just be wrapped up with a couple back and forth conversations.
I think you need to test the room to make sure that people felt like that they were getting right. You want to make sure that you've got the excellent. All right.
Okay. Other? Okay, so moving on. Public input.
Sean Works, North Berwick. One of the things that I would like to see happen is more proactive approach to communication than a reactive approach that we seem to have currently been taking. The example that kind of sticks out in my mind is the busing. There's a lot of chatter that was going on in social media about what's happening with the buses. You know, I'm trying to write to or call the transportation, not getting any answers. Because I've attended many of the meetings, Chelsea has attended all of them. I knew what was happening. I was like, well, yeah, they're driving. You know, that's why you can't, they aren't answering the phone because they're on the road. Getting that information out ahead of time, I think would have helped cut down a lot of this chatter. There's some other stuff, I think, Melissa, about the schools, like the purpose, like what's happening in the schools, getting that out there could have also cut down some of this misinformation that's out there. And I think trying to take that approach, and also, recognizing hindsight sometimes is 2020, and like, oh yeah, it's easy to talk about this after the fact, but just trying to, as the group, as you look at things, try to think, is this something that would be good to get out sooner than later and provide information to help answer some questions that parents might have, and to keep things from being, the transportation email being flooded by, where's my bus? Where is this? Why haven't I heard an answer back? That people tend to get impatient very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
I think we'll add that to our goals.
Okay.
It's real.
Hold it down, John.
Can't stop.
There you go. Oh,
So were you interested?
This on?
hit that button.
Hi there, my name is Kevin Jessel. I'm a resident for Maine. I have two children in the school system, one at Husty and one at Noble Intermediate. I have been actively engaged in my community for many years. I've always tried to handle myself in a professional manner. That being said, I'm willing to stand by the things I say and do. But these are traits that have been very lacking in able districts recently. I am before the school board tonight to present information about a social media platform allegedly operated by multiple members of the school board. This Noble Board revealed is alleged to be about transparency. However, it appears to be used in the targeted political activities. Having multiple people right behind an assumed identity is unprofessional. What behavior is this modeling for our teachers and administration? I believe a personal attack on social media like this should be grounds for dismissal of a staff member of MS-86. I have no questions for the board members. However, I would like to ask the superintendent if she could give me the per pupil spending comparison to other communities in York, Maine. I wish to use my personal funds and time over the 2 years, making sure everyone in the 3 towns is aware of these numbers. You guys have done a great job with the budget for the past 15 years. I intend to do this with posters, trifold brochures, and mass mailings. This would be a very productive use of my time. I hope this will change some of the rhetoric. We must change the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jessel, I'll meet you afterwards, but just get your email address so that we can provide that information to you.
Yes, Josh.
Just going to speak to that, as well posted on that Facebook page, and I have been very public about it. We have been very public about it. Every comment written by Noble Board Revealed is mine or Nancy Sewell's or a collaborative effort between the two of us. There are no pseudo writings or anything like that aside from Noble Board Revealed. We have been clear with you. We have been cleared where attorneys. We have been clear publicly. And I continue to say the exact same thing. Continue to stand by us beyond it. I know that it rubs some people the wrong way. I understand that. So doesn't the Noble District parent page, which I can't have access to because I don't have a student in the district. And there are plenty of comments on that page that are simply untrue or not respectful in a lot of ways to members of our community. Yet that page still runs and we don't talk about that. So there's just a lot of stuff. And it's annoying on all sides. And can we just agree that it's all annoying on all sides? Let it be an outlet for everyone in their different ways. And we expect that.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. Then change it to Josh and Nancy's views of MS-8060 board. When you glance and you don't read the description, you don't know that it's you two. And it's unfairly misrepresenting the board. And I completely agree. And I have screenshots. There is a completely, in my opinion, completely inappropriate post that if I were any employee in this district, I would want to leave this district. Okay. You're harming the morale of this district.
I disagree.
I would change the name of the page to Josh and Nancy's feelings or whatever you want it to be, but clear that it's you too.
I hear you.
All of us.
I hear you. I hear you. The about has our names, right? We have our bios on there, for crying out loud. Like, what kind of transparency do other pages have? Does Noble Board Reveal? Do we tell everybody that one of our elementary assistant principals is currently one of the admins of that, right? And they manage it. They monitor the content. Do we talk about that? Oh, we're not transparent about that. That's actually an employee of the district. I mean, like,
that's all.
Listen, I'm that big deal.
Right.
You just have to change the name.
Yeah.
You just have to change the name. When you Google Noble School Board, your page is the first page that comes up. Teachers came to me at open house and says, "Are you part of that page?" I'm like, "Oh my God, no." Some of that stuff is insulting. I was heartbroken to read some of the stuff and to have my name with that. You just have to change the name. You just have, the parents run by parents. It says run by parents.
Oh, but it's not run by parents, right?
Do you know who runs it? Tell me who runs that.
I don't think I can publicly disclose that.
All right. So just change the name.
I'm willing to publicly disclose who runs that, right? And that
Type whatever you want on it, change the name.
I understand, right? And I've also had, I'm certainly not going to disclose it, but I've had some staff members who walk up and say, "Thanks for actually putting a voice out there."
And change the name, and that's the name too.
Yes.
You just have to change.
I agree. I don't want to be associated with that page, and I have gotten more similar complaints, Lauren, that people are devastated and thinking about leaving. It should be changed. It's not Noble Board. It's you, and it's not us. Why do you continue to call?
It says that. It says that.
No, but why do you have to call it that then?
Because I'm revealing the thoughts. I mean, it says on there. It says on there. I mean, if I could bring it up and you want me to read it to you, like
The title says you're revealing Noble Board. That's not what you're doing. You're revealing you too, and that's not fair to the rest of us.
I think I will say that I respectfully ask that you guys sit and think and talk about that, because your board is asking for something that I think is reasonable. And we're just asking, we can't,
and here's, let me ask you this, right? Can I be allowed into the Noble Parent page, please?
I don't run the Noble Parent page.
There's an administrator in this district who is an administrator of that page. I'm asking our district, can I be part of that page?
It's nothing to do with administrators. It doesn't have anything to do with us.
This is different.
People on this board have asked and they've been denied. It's kind of,
This is two board members running it. You're talking about a page that isn't run by board members. We're asking two board members.
Is this on the agenda? Or is this just other?
sorry, I just cut you off. I'm so sorry.
Well, I think this is in response to input from our public.
And he made a false accusation and I corrected him. He said that it was being written underneath pseudo names. That's not true.
Can I chime in here real quick? As someone who's been personally victimized by your Facebook page, which I will not be responding to the post that you made about me, I see it just devolving more and more. I think it maybe had started out with some noble integrity and intentions, and now it seems to just be a page full of vitriol, following like Instagram influencers that are very strange to me. So yeah, it obviously doesn't. I mean, if you're calling out members of the board, then you're not revealing anything. These are your opinions. So obviously you have free speech, but I would just also reiterate the idea that it should be under your names. I mean, if you're proud of what you're doing, put it under your name.
And I would add that it is in violation of our board norms. Number one, we will deal with
More than half of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through that, then we might as well tear it up and throw it away then. It's not funny, Josh. I'm not amused. Bad mouthing publicly.
No, I am talked about this so many times. Like, I don't think, no, I've been shut down so many times on this board. I've been told that I can't do certain things when the lawyer then comes in and says, yes, he can. Like, goodness gracious. It's frustrating. And I mean, you all know it's frustrating. I appreciate you allowing me to advocate for yourself earlier, but we all have that right to do those things. Great. You know, I hear you and I do respect your opinions. I understand. Just because I'm not winning, just because I'm not winning, I don't think it's, I mean, Ali said she didn't want to talk about it, so I'm going to respect that. If Ali and I want to talk somewhere else and have that conversation, sure, I'll explain all what we did and why.
You'll put up that discussion with me before you posted on social media about it, Josh.
Amen.
Yes.
It was attempted.
That would have been the mature thing to do.
It was attempted.
Well,
it was not.
Okay.
Any other public input?
I'm just gonna, I apologize, but I'm gonna put it in. I just went on the parents of SAT 60 because I don't go there because I try really hard not to. The moderators are neither. They are members of the MSAD 60 community, but they are not administrators. And you can pull that up if you want to. It's right there. There's an administrator gal and there's a moderator gal. So,
And they are not administrators in this district.
no, they're not. So, but I didn't know that until now because I don't look at this. Well, better for my heart right now.
Speaking for myself, thank you for coming forward with your comments. I personally am very appreciative of your standing up and using your own.
I wish to, I'm so angry about it. Yeah, you called me a liar. I stand by everything I've said tonight. I stand by everything I've done to the town of Berwick. Everything you stand for, you just need to not be reelected. I wish you would resign. Your personal attacks against other board members are just horrific. If this was an employee of the district, I'd be fired for this.
Okay, thank you. All right, so do we have a motion for adjournment? And then we are going to go into our board workshop.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Sorry.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning? Those opposed? And the motion is passed.
Just let it come.